Right now, your brain is lying to you. It has convinced you that you are working hard. It has convinced you that you are building a future, organizing your life, and getting things done. But psychological data shows that the cleaner your desk is, the more unread emails you answer, and the more meticulously you plan your day, the faster you might actually be ruining your life. Welcome back to Hidden Brain. If you're trying to build something meaningful, scale a project, or completely change your financial trajectory, I'm glad you're here today, because what we are about to unpack is the single most dangerous psychological trap facing high achievers today. It is a trap that doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like success. Most people think failure looks like laziness. They think it looks like lying on the couch, scrolling through social media for 6 hours, or binging a television series. But that kind of failure is easy to spot. Because it looks like a mistake, your conscience kicks in. You feel guilty. You recognize the enemy. The most dangerous form of failure is the one you applaud yourself for. It's a phenomenon psychologists call productive procrastination. And if you are an ambitious, intelligent person, it is likely quiet quitting your dreams right now, under the guise of hard work. Let's look at a scenario you know all too well. You have a massive, terrifying task waiting for you. Perhaps it's recording that first video for your new channel. Maybe it's writing the first chapter of a book, cold emailing 20 high-ticket clients, or finally building a financial model for your business. This is the task that actually moves the needle. This is the task that changes your life. But instead of doing it, you suddenly notice that your desktop files are disorganized, or you realize your kitchen counter needs to be wiped down, or you decide that before you can start working, you need to spend 3 hours researching the absolute perfect project management software. You spend the entire afternoon organizing, planning, cleaning, and replying to low-priority emails. By 6 o'clock in the evening, you are exhausted. You close your laptop. You look around, and you feel a sense of accomplishment. You tell yourself that you really ground out today and got so much done. But if you look closely at the math of your life, you didn't actually move an inch closer to your real goals. You just ran on a treadmill that you decorated to look like a runway. Why do our brains do this? Why do smart, capable people intentionally sabotage their highest ambitions while convincing themselves they are doing the exact opposite? To understand this illusion, we have to look inside the brain's survival mechanics. Because as it turns out, your brain doesn't actually care about your long-term success. It cares about something else entirely. In behavioral psychology, there's a concept known as the ostrich effect. When an ostrich senses danger, miss as it buries its head in the sand. It assumes that if it cannot see the predator cannot see it. Your brain operates exactly like this when faced with high-stakes goals. When you look at a task that could truly change your life, like starting a business or putting your creative work out into the world, your amygdala, the emotional alarm system of your brain, does not see an opportunity. It sees a threat. It sees the threat of failure, the threat of judgment, the threat of discovering that you might not be as talented as you hope you are. To protect your ego from the psychological predator, your brain needs to hide. But because you are a smart, ambitious person, you can't just sit there and do nothing. If you just play video games, your prefrontal cortex will scream at you that you are wasting your life. The guilt becomes unbearable. So, the brain pulls off a brilliant piece of cognitive acrobatics. It finds a task that keeps your hands moving but keeps the threat at bay. Enter moral licensing. This is a subconscious phenomenon where doing something good gives you psychological permission to do something bad later. In studies conducted by behavioral scientists, consumers who bought healthy, organic groceries were significantly more likely to walk down the next aisle and purchase junk food. Their brains reasoned that because they did something virtuous, they had earned the right to sabotage themselves. When you clean your room, organize your notes, or edit a minor detail for the 20th time, your brain logs that as a massive, virtuous victory. It says to look at how hard you are working. And with that hit of virtue, it quietly grants you a license to avoid the terrifying, messy, uncomfortable work that actually matters. You aren't lazy. You are using minor productivity as a psychological shield to protect yourself from the discomfort of growth. The reason this trap is so deadly is that it is sustainable for years. You can spend a whole decade being incredibly busy, working 10-hour days, feeling completely burnout, and yet completely stagnating. Think about the history of major corporate failures. Companies don't usually go bankrupt because their employees sit around doing absolutely nothing. They go bankrupt because thousands of brilliant people spend all year attending meetings about meetings, optimizing internal slide decks, and reorganizing corporate structures, while completely ignoring the massive shifting tide of the market right outside their window. They are productively drowning. And on an individual level, the cost is even higher. When you fall into productive procrastination trap, you enter a state of chronic cognitive dissonance. Deep down, you know you aren't doing real work. You know that the version of your life you want requires you to step into the arena and take real risks. But because your days are so packed with superficial tasks, you have a built-in alibi. You tell your friends, your family, and yourself that you just don't have enough time and that you are working nonstop. But time is rarely the problem. The problem is energy allocation. We choose the certainty of small, meaningless tasks over the terrifying uncertainty of big, meaningful goals. Checking off 10 items on a to-do list gives you a predictable, reliable drip of dopamine. Sending a high-stakes proposal or publishing your creative work gives you anxiety. And given the choice between the guaranteed micro-reward and potential macro-anxiety, an unmanaged brain will choose the micro-reward every single time. So, how do we break the loop? How do we stop running on the spot and actually start moving forward? The first step is a brutal, radical act of self-honesty. You have to change how you define a productive day. From this moment on, productivity is no longer measured by how much energy you expended or how many hours you sat at your desk. True productivity must be measured exclusively by one metric, which is friction encountered. The tasks that move your life forward are almost always the ones that carry the highest emotional friction. They are the ones that make your stomach drop slightly when you think about doing them. If you go through your entire workday without feeling a single moment of psychological discomfort, resistance, or vulnerability, you did not have a productive day. You had an administrative day. You maintained your current life. You did not build a new one. Psychologists suggest using a strategy called action bias identification. Before you start any task, pause and ask yourself a simple question, which is whether you're doing this to achieve a result or doing this to avoid a feeling. If you are rewriting an introduction for the 15th time, are you doing it because the text genuinely requires it? Or are you doing it because pressing publish makes you feel exposed? If you are researching more information, do you actually lack the knowledge to take the next step? Or are you using research as a buffer to delay the moment of execution? Once you label the evasion, the magic changes. The illusion vanishes. You take the power away from your amygdala and hand it back to your conscious mind. The next time you find yourself furiously organizing your workspace or planning out a project for the third time this week, do not praise yourself. Stop. Take a deep breath. Recognize that your brain is trying to protect you from the very thing you need to grow. Burying your head in the sand might keep you safe from the discomfort of failure, but also guarantees the certainty of mediocrity. Real success is messy. It is unorganized. It requires you to do things before you feel fully ready, to launch before you have the perfect system, and to tolerate the anxiety of the unknown. Stop checking boxes that don't matter. Find the single hardest, most uncomfortable task on your plate right now, the one you've been productively avoiding, and go do it first. If the psychological breakdown brought you some clarity today, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let me know in the comments below, what is the one project you've been productively avoiding? Thank you for watching Hidden Brain. Stop planning. Stop preparing. Go build.